My beloved brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight, as I stand before you, my heart is filled with both excitement and a deep sense of responsibility. We're about to embark on a journey together, not a journey through distant lands or foreign territories, but a journey through the landscape of the human heart. We're going to explore what it means to be among the righteous, what it means to live a life that pleases Allah, what it means to embody the qualities that transform not just our own souls but the world around us. When I think about righteousness, I don't think about perfection. I don't think about people who never make mistakes, who never struggle, who never feel the weight of their humanity. No, when I think about the righteous, I think about people who are constantly striving, constantly growing, constantly turning back to Allah with hope and humility. The righteous are not the people who claim to be righteous. They're the people who worry they're not righteous enough. They're the ones who look in the mirror and see their flaws before their virtues. They're the ones who spend their nights in prayer asking Allah to guide them, to improve them, to make them better than they were yesterday. Tonight we're going to explore 30 qualities that define the righteous, not as a checklist to make us feel inadequate, but as a roadmap to help us grow. Each quality we'll discuss is not just a trait to admire from afar, but a characteristic we can develop, nurture, and embody in our own lives. But before we begin this exploration, I want you to understand something fundamental. Righteousness is not a destination you arrive at one day and then relax. It's not a certificate you earn and hang on your wall. Righteousness is a way of traveling, a way of living, a continuous journey of becoming. Every morning when you wake up, you have the opportunity to be more righteous than you were yesterday. Every interaction you have, every decision you make, every thought you entertain, these are all opportunities to practice righteousness, to grow in it, to embody it more fully. So let's begin this journey together with open hearts and humble spirits, asking Allah to guide us and help us internalize these beautiful qualities. The first quality that defines the righteous is taqwa, often translated as God consciousness. But oh, how that translation falls short of capturing the depth of this concept. Taqwa is not just being aware that Allah exists. It's living every moment of your life with the profound understanding that Allah is watching, Allah is present, Allah knows your intentions before you even fully form them in your mind. Imagine, my brothers and sisters, if you knew that the most beloved person in your life was always watching you. How would you behave? How would you speak? How would you treat others? How would you spend your time? That consciousness, that awareness, that desire to be your best self because of who is watching, that's a glimpse of what taqwa feels like. But taqwa goes even deeper than this. It's not just about performing for an audience, even a divine one. It's about genuinely caring about what pleases Allah, about aligning your heart's desires with what Allah loves. It's about developing such an intimate relationship with your Creator that pleasing Him becomes as natural as breathing. I remember meeting a young man who exemplified this quality in a way that moved my heart. He was working at a store, and during a busy day, the cash register malfunctioned and gave him $20 too much in change from a customer. The customer didn't notice, the manager wasn't around, no one would have ever known if he had just kept the money. But he ran after the customer, returning the extra $20. When I asked him about it later, he said something that still gives me chills. Brother, how could I take what isn't mine when Allah is watching? How could I sleep at night knowing I chose $20 over Allah's pleasure? That's taqwa in action. It's not just following rules when people are watching. It's choosing what's right because Allah is always watching, and His pleasure matters more than any temporary gain. The righteous understand that taqwa is like a light within them that illuminates every decision, every relationship, every moment of their lives. They don't turn their consciousness of Allah on and off like a switch. It's always there, gentle but persistent, guiding them toward what's good and away from what's harmful. Closely connected to taqwa is the beautiful quality of gratitude, what we call shukr in Arabic. But the gratitude of the righteous is not just saying Alhamdulillah after something good happens. It's a deep abiding recognition that everything, and I mean everything, is a gift from Allah. The righteous look at their morning cup of tea and see Allah's mercy in the warmth that spreads through their body. They look at their ability to see the sunrise and recognize recognize it as a daily miracle they've done nothing to deserve. They feel their heart beating in their chest and marvel at this automatic gift that keeps them alive moment by moment. But here's what makes their gratitude truly remarkable. They find reasons to be grateful even in difficulty. When they're stuck in traffic, they're grateful for having a car to sit in. When they're working long hours, they're grateful for having work that provides for their family. When they're going through hardship, they're grateful for the opportunity to earn reward through patience. I once knew a sister who lost her job unexpectedly. Instead of spiraling into bitterness, she said, "Alhamdulillah, now I have time to spend with my elderly mother that I was always too busy for before." She turned a potential source of stress into a reason for gratitude. The righteous understand that gratitude is not just about feeling thankful. It's about expressing that thankfulness through their actions. They thank Allah not just with their tongues, but with their choices. They use their blessings in ways that please Allah. They share what they have with others. They don't take their gifts for granted, so they don't waste them or misuse them. Their gratitude creates a beautiful cycle. The more grateful they are, the more blessings they notice. The more blessings they notice, the more blessings they notice, the more grateful they become. The more grateful they become, the more Allah increases them in His bounty. It's a spiral of blessing and thankfulness that just keeps growing. This brings us to another essential quality of the righteous, patience, what we call sabr. But the patience of the righteous is not passive resignation. It's not just gritting your teeth and enduring whatever comes your way. It's active, purposeful perseverance combined with trust in Allah's wisdom. The righteous understand that sabr has three dimensions. There's sabr in obeying Allah's, the patience to do what's right, even when it's difficult, even when no one's watching, even when the reward seems distant. There's sabr in avoiding sin, the patience to resist temptation, to say no to things that might feel good in the moment, but are harmful in the long run. And there's sabr in facing Allah's decree, the patience to accept what Allah has written for them, while still striving to improve their situation. Let me tell you about a brother I know who embodies this quality beautifully. He's been trying to have children with his wife for 8 years. 8 years of hoping, praying, medical appointments, treatments, disappointments. But instead of becoming bitter, instead of blaming Allah, instead of losing hope, he and his wife have used this test to grow closer to each other and closer to Allah. They've become mentors to other couples facing similar struggles. They've increased their charity, their prayers, their service to their community. They often say, "We don't know why this is our test, but we trust that Allah knows what's best for us. And in the meantime, we're going to use this experience to help others and to become better people ourselves." That's sabr in action. It's not just waiting for things to change. It's growing and serving and trusting while you wait. The righteous also understand that sabr is not about suppressing emotions. You can be patient and still feel sad. You can have sabr and still grieve your losses. You can trust Allah's plan and still hope for something different. Sabr is about how you respond to your emotions, not about not having them. Intertwined with patience is the quality of humility. Taqwa. The righteous are humble, not because they think little of themselves, but because they think often of Allah. They understand their place in the vast universe, their dependence on their Creator, their need for guidance and mercy. But their humility is not self-deprecation. It's not putting themselves down or thinking they have nothing to offer. It's understanding that whatever good they have, whatever talents they possess, whatever success they achieve, all of it is from Allah. They're grateful stewards of the gifts they've been given, not proud owners of achievements they've earned entirely on their own. I've seen this quality in teachers who never make their students feel stupid, in leaders who listen more than they speak, in successful people who attribute their success to Allah's blessing and the help of others. I've seen it in parents who learn from their children, in adults who are not too proud to admit their mistakes, in knowledgeable people who are always eager to learn more. The humble among the righteous have a beautiful way of making others feel valued and important. They don't feel the need to prove their worth by diminishing diminishing others. They don't need to be the smartest person in the room, or the most respected, or the most praised. They're comfortable with who they are, because they know who they belong to. Their humility makes them approachable. People feel safe sharing their struggles with them, because they know they won't be judged or looked down upon. Their humility makes them good learners, because they're not too proud to acknowledge what they don't know. Their humility makes them better worshippers, because they approach Allah with genuine need and recognition of their dependence on Him. From humility flows another beautiful quality, compassion masarama. The righteous have hearts that are soft, tender, easily moved by the pain of others, but their compassion is not just feeling sorry for people. It's feeling compelled to act, to help, to alleviate suffering, wherever they find it. Their compassion extends to all of creation. They're kind to animals, gentle with children, patient with elderly people, understanding toward those who are struggling. They see the humanity in everyone, even in those who have wronged them. I think of a man I know who works with refugees. Every day he hears stories that would break your heart. Families torn apart by war, children who have seen things no child should see, people who have lost everything they held dear. But instead of becoming hardened by these stories, instead of protecting his heart by building walls around, he lets each story affect him. He cries with the people he helps. He celebrates their small victories as if they were his own. His compassion doesn't make him weak. It makes him incredibly strong. It gives him the energy to work long hours, to fight bureaucracy, to never give up on the people he serves. His compassion is powered by his love for Allah, and his understanding that serving Allah's creation is one of the highest forms of worship. The righteous understand that compassion is not just for big dramatic situations. It's also for the daily interactions, being patient with a cashier who's having a bad day, listening to a friend who needs to vent, helping an elderly neighbor with their groceries, speaking gently to their children, even when they're frustrated. Their compassion is balanced with wisdom. They don't enable harmful behavior in the name of being kind, but they always approach others with the assumption of good intentions. They understand that everyone is fighting battles they know nothing about, so they choose gentleness as their default response. Closely related to compassion is the quality of justice. Adults. The righteous are people who care deeply about fairness, about right and wrong, about standing up for truth, even when it's difficult or unpopular. But their sense of justice begins with themselves. They're honest about their own flaws, fair in their self-assessment, quick to take responsibility for their mistakes. They don't make excuses for their wrongdoing, or blame others for their shortcomings. When they deal with others, they're scrupulously fair. They don't favor their friends over strangers, their family over other people's families, people who look like them over those who don't. They judge by character and actions, not by superficial characteristics. I remember hearing about a judge who was known for his integrity. One day his own son was brought before him on charges. The people in the courtroom watched to see what he would do. Would he be lenient because it was his son? Would he find a way to dismiss the charges? But this righteous man treated his son exactly as he would treat any other defendant. He listened to the evidence, applied the law fairly, and when his son was found guilty, he sentenced him according to justice. After the case, he went home and wept for his son, but in the courtroom, he was a servant of justice first, and the father second. The righteous understand that true justice is not about revenge or punishment. It's about balance, about restoration, about protecting the rights of all people. They speak up against oppression, even when they're not the ones being oppressed. They defend the weak, even when there's no benefit to them in doing so. Their commitment to justice makes them uncomfortable with corruption, dishonesty, and unfairness in any form. They can't enjoy benefits that come from harming others. They can't be silent when they witness wrongdoing, even if speaking up costs them something. Another beautiful quality of the righteous is their capacity for forgiveness, maghfirah. They understand that forgiveness is not about letting people walk all over them, or pretending that harmful actions didn't happen. It's about freeing their own hearts from the poison of resentment and hatred. The righteous forgive because they want Allah to forgive them. They understand the connection between how they treat others and how Allah treats them. They know that holding grudges hurts them more than it hurts the people they're angry with. But their forgiveness is wise. They forgive the debt, but they might not lend money to the same person again. They forgive the betrayal, but they might not trust the same person with sensitive information again. They separate forgiveness from foolishness, mercy from naivety. I know a woman whose business partner cheated her out of thousands of dollars. For months she was consumed with anger, spending her days plotting revenge, and her nights replaying the betrayal. Then one day, she realized that her former partner was living rent-free in her head, stealing her peace just as he had stolen her money. She made the decision to forgive not for his sake, but for her own. She stopped talking about what he had done to her. She stopped planning ways to get back at him. She made dua for him to be guided, and for herself to be compensated by Allah in better ways. The peace that forgiveness brought to her heart was worth more than the money she had lost, and within a year, Allah had blessed her with opportunities that more than made up for what she had lost. Her forgiveness didn't just free her heart, it freed her energy to focus on building rather than destroying. The righteous are also characterized by their truthfulness, sidqa. They are honest in their speech, genuine in their emotions, authentic in their relationship. They say what they mean and mean what they say. Their truthfulness is not just about not lying, though they certainly avoid falsehood in all its forms. It's about being genuine, about presenting themselves as they really are, rather than as they think others want them to be. When they make mistakes, they admit them. When they don't know something, they say so. When they're struggling, they don't pretend everything is perfect. When they're happy, they don't hide their joy out of false modesty. This quality makes them incredibly reliable. When they give their word, people know they can count on it. When they make a promise, they fulfill it. When they commit to something, they follow through. I think of a young man who was offered a job that would pay significantly more than his current position. But when he looked at the job description more carefully, he realized that part of his responsibilities would involve practices he wasn't comfortable with. Not anything illegal, but things that didn't align with his values. Despite the financial pressure his family was under, despite the opportunities this job would create, he turned it down. He chose truthfulness to his principles over temporary financial gain, and Allah blessed him with an even better opportunity shortly after, one that aligned perfectly with his values and paid even more than the job he had turned down. The righteous understand that truthfulness is not always easy, but it's always worth it. Short term, it might cost them opportunities or comfort. Long term, it builds a reputation and a character that are more valuable than any temporary gain. Their truthfulness extends to their relationship with Allah. They don't pretend to be more pious than they are, but they also don't sell themselves short. They acknowledge their struggles and their growth, their sins and their good deeds, with equal honesty. Another fundamental quality of the righteous is trustworthiness. People know they can rely on the righteous with their secrets, their belongings, their vulnerabilities. They're the people you call when you need someone dependable, when you meet someone who will follow through. But the righteous understand that trustworthiness goes beyond just keeping secrets or returning borrowed items. They see everything in their lives as a trust for Allah. Their bodies, their time, their talents, their families, their resources. They feel responsible for using these trusts in ways that please Allah. They're trustworthy with their children's emotional needs, not just their physical care. They're trustworthy with their spouse's heart, not just their household responsibilities. They're trustworthy with their community's expectations, their employer's time, their friends' confidence. I know a sister who cleans offices at night. No one supervises her work. Her employers trust her to do a thorough job, even when no one is watching, and she takes that trust seriously. She cleans each office as if it were her own home. Not because she's afraid of getting caught if she doesn't, but because she understands that doing excellent work, when no one is watching, is a form of worship. Her trustworthiness has earned her more clients than she can handle. Business owners recommend her to each other, because they know she'll take care of their spaces, as if they were her own. Her integrity has become her greatest business asset. The righteous also demonstrate remarkable generosity, but their generosity is not just about money, though they certainly give financially when they can. They're generous with their time, their attention, their skills, their knowledge, their prayers. They understand that everything they have is from Allah, so sharing with others is not a burden. It's a privilege. They don't give to show off or to be praised. They give because giving is an expression of their gratitude to Allah and their love for His creation. Their generosity
is often quiet, private, unannounced. They pay someone's bills anonymously. They spend hours helping a student understand a difficult concept. They listen patiently to someone who needs to talk, even when they have their own problems to worry about. I remember a teacher who noticed that one of her students always seemed hungry and never had lunch money. Instead of embarrassing the child by making a big announcement, she quietly started bringing extra food and leaving it where the student could take it without feeling ashamed. She did this for months, never mentioning it to anyone, never making the child feel like a charity case. Years later, that student became a teacher herself and started doing the same thing for her own students. The ripple effects of that quiet generosity continue to spread, touching lives in ways the original teacher will never know about. The righteous are also distinguished by their love of knowledge and their commitment to continuous learning. They understand that seeking knowledge is not just encouraged in Islam, it's mandated. But they don't seek knowledge just to show off how smart they are or to win arguments. They seek knowledge to better understand Allah, to improve themselves, to serve others more effectively. They're lifelong learners who remain curious about the world around them. They read, they ask questions, they listen to those who know more than they do. They're not embarrassed to admit when they don't understand something, and they're always grateful when someone teaches them something new. But they balance their pursuit of worldly knowledge with spiritual learning. They study their religion, not just to check a box, but to deepen their relationship with Allah. They learn about the Prophet's life, not just as historical information, but as a guide for how to live their own lives. Their knowledge makes them humble, rather than arrogant. The more they learn, the more they realize how much they don't know. The deeper they go in their understanding, the more they appreciate the vastness of Allah's wisdom. I think of a doctor who is at the top of his field, respected by his colleagues, sought after by patients, but every week, he attends Islamic study circles, where he sits with people who know much less about medicine than he does, but might know more about spirituality. He learns from everyone, from scholars, from patients, from children, from elderly people who share their life experiences. His knowledge in medicine makes him a better servant of Allah, because he uses his skills to heal people. His knowledge of Islam makes him a better doctor, because he treats patients with compassion and integrity. His knowledge and his faith complement and strengthen each other. The righteous are also characterized by their consistency in worship and their dedication to maintaining their spiritual practices. They don't just pray when they feel like it, or read Qur'an when they're going through a difficult time. They establish regular routines of worship that anchor their days and connect them consistently to Allah. But their worship is not mechanical or soulless. They approach their prayers with presence and attention. They read Qur'an not just to complete a certain number of pages, but to reflect on its meanings and allow it to guide their lives. They make dhikr not just as a habit, but as a way of keeping their hearts connected to Allah throughout their day. Their consistency in worship creates a rhythm in their lives that brings peace and stability. When everything else feels chaotic, they have these moments of connection with Allah that remind them of what's truly important. They understand that worship is not separate from the rest of their lives. It infuses everything they do. When they're kind to their family, that's worship. When they're honest in their business dealings, that's worship. When they help someone in need, that's worship. I know a businessman who, no matter how busy his day gets, never misses his 5 daily prayers. He's been known to excuse himself from important meetings, to pull over his car on long drives, to find quiet corners in airports. His employees and colleagues have come to respect this commitment, and many have said that his integrity in this small thing makes them trust him in bigger things. His consistency in prayer keeps him grounded and reminds him throughout the day that success comes from Allah, not just from his own efforts. It keeps his priorities straight and his heart humble. Another beautiful quality of the righteous is their constant remembrance of Allah, dhikr. Their tongues are often busy with praising Allah, thanking Him, seeking His forgiveness, asking for His guidance. But their dhikr is not just verbal. Their hearts are also constantly aware of Allah's presence. They see Allah's signs in everything around them. The beauty of a sunset reminds them of Allah's artistry. The laughter of children reminds them of Allah's gift of joy. The changing seasons remind them of Allah's power and wisdom. Even difficult experiences become opportunities to remember Allah's tests and to seek His help. Their dhikr is not forced or artificial. It flows naturally from hearts that are connected to Allah. They don't have to remind themselves to praise Allah. When something good happens, gratitude is their instinctive response. They don't have to force themselves to seek Allah's help. When they're struggling, turning to Him is their natural inclination. This constant remembrance creates a beautiful tranquility in their hearts. Even in the midst of busy, stressful days, there's a part of them that remains peaceful because it's anchored in Allah. Even when external circumstances are challenging, they have an internal stability that comes from remembering that Allah is in control. The righteous also have a remarkable capacity for love. Love for Allah, love for the Prophet, peace be upon him, love for their families, love for their communities, love for all of creation. Their love is not just an emotion, it's a driving force that motivates their actions and shapes their priorities. Their love for Allah makes them eager to please Him and careful to avoid displeasing Him. Their love for the Prophet makes them study his example and try to embody his character. Their love for their families makes them patient with their flaws and generous with their time and attention. But their love is not blind or enabling. They love people enough to want what's best for them, even if that means having difficult conversations or setting boundaries. They love their children enough to discipline them when necessary. They love their friends enough to give them honest advice, even when it's hard to hear. Their love extends beyond their immediate circle. They feel genuine concern for people they've never met, in places they've never been. They make dua for the oppressed, give charity to the needy, support causes that help others flourish. I remember a sister who adopted 3 children from difficult backgrounds. When people asked her why she would take on such a challenge, she said, "These children need love, and Allah has given me love to share. How could I keep it to myself when there are children who need it?" Her love transformed not just those 3 children, but her entire extended family. Her biological children learned compassion by watching their parents care for children who weren't originally theirs. Her parents became more patient and understanding. Her friends were inspired to look for ways to help children in their own communities. Love has a multiplying effect. The more you give, the more you have. The more you share, the more it grows. The righteous are also distinguished by their self-accountability. They regularly examine their actions, their motivations, their spiritual state. They don't wait for others to point out their flaws. They actively look for areas where they can improve. But their self-accountability is not harsh or self-punishing. It comes from a place of love. Love for Allah and desire to please Him. Love for themselves and desire to grow. They see their mistakes not as evidence of their worthlessness, but as opportunities for learning and growth. They have regular practices of self-reflection. Some keep journals where they write about their spiritual struggles and growth. Some have weekly check-ins with themselves where they assess how they're doing in different areas of their lives. Some have trusted friends or mentors who help them see their blind spots. Their self-accountability makes them quick to seek forgiveness when they realize they've done wrong. They don't make excuses or blame others. They take responsibility, make amends when possible, and commit to doing better in the future. I know a man who keeps a small notebook where he writes down his mistakes each day, not to torture himself, but to stay aware of patterns he needs to work on. Next to each mistake he writes what he learned from it, and how he plans to do better. Over time his notebook has become a record of his spiritual growth, showing how he's overcome challenges and developed better habits. This practice has made him incredibly self-aware and humble. He rarely repeats the same mistakes because he's learned to recognize the situations and emotions that lead him astray. His friends often come to him for advice because they know he's honest about his own struggles and wise about the process of growth.